New situation. Tori has a savings account with $475 in it. She deposits $125 of her paycheck into the account every week. Her goal is to save $7,000 for college. Write an equation that represents the relationship between the dollar amount in her account and the number of weeks since she started depositing $125 per week. Okay, now notice we don't really have variables defined in this problem, but we do know that Tori starts with $475. And we do know that she's depositing $125 every week, okay? So 125 per week, so weeks must be one of our variables. So she's adding 125 each week, so 125W, and then that's going to equal her total amount of money saved. So we might just put maybe T for total. Now, it's true that we are going to eventually take a look at a total of $7,000, but we're going to be kind of looking at it along the way. So we're going to use the variable T to stand for total number, total amount of money. So T is total money, W is weeks. So if we define our variables, sometimes that is very helpful. So how much money is in the account after 3 weeks? So now we know for 3 weeks we can put that in for W and make a calculation. So 475 plus 125 times 3 equals, all right, so you can punch that into your calculator. And let's go ahead and do that on the side over here. So let's do 475 plus 125 times 3. So it will do a little order of operations here. So 125 times 3 has to be done first, and then the 475 would add up to a total of 850. So, in fact, I just want to be clear about that. 125 times 3 needs to get done here. So we really are having 475 plus 375, right? And so then we'll add the 475 to that, which is equal to a total of $850, okay? So make sure you're doing your order of operations. You have to do that multiplication before you can add, sorry about that, the $475 to it. Okay, how long will it take before she has 1,350? Okay, so the 1,350 is really the total that she has after a certain amount of weeks. So we're going to have to think about solving this equation now with 1,350 as our total. So we're going to work backwards, and you could start plugging in some numbers of weeks and eventually get that total probably, unless it's a fractional week, which is always possible. But we're going to work backwards and use our solving steps to try to get W by itself. We will first subtract 475 from both sides to undo the positive 475. So that would be 0 here, which means that we'll just write the 125W equals 1350 minus 475. Oops, let me clear that up. 1350 minus 475 is 875. All right, so we subtracted 475 from both sides, and then remember this is 125 times W, and so 125 times something equals 875. So to figure that out, let's work backwards and undo the multiplication by dividing both sides by 125. 125 divided by 125 is 1, or 1W, or just W, and then 875 divided by 125 is 7. So 7 weeks is how long Tori would be saving to get to that $1,350 amount. Okay. All right. So graph your equation using Desmos and look at a copy of the graph below. So I've copied that graph, but if you are working on Notability here, there should be this Desmos should be a hot link. Otherwise, just go to desmos.com, or if you have the Desmos app, open that up. And then we can go ahead and, maybe I'll have this over on the side here. We can type that equation in, that original equation, so that we have a graph of it. And so what we'll do over here is actually, let's see if we can kind of type it as it is. So we're going to do 475 plus 125, and I'm going to use, 125. I'm going to use X instead of W, and then equals T, and I'm going to use Y for our line here. All right. All right, so I got a really weird looking line that's kind of almost looks vertical. And part of the reason is because my window is way off on this. So I might just need to squeeze my graph a little bit here. And I know that she's really starting at $475, and then she's going to save money from there. So notice I'm kind of messing with my X and Y axis a little bit here so that I can get a good picture of the graph. And now I can kind of drag a point and say, okay, for any of these amount of weeks, so if I want to do like 7 weeks, see if I can drag right on 7, there's that 71350 number. If I want to drag down to 3 weeks here, 3850, so I can see all these points that are on the graph. And so you should be able to do that too. Now I just took a screenshot of that and brought it into Notability, but I would encourage you to get used to using Desmos to graph lines like that. You do have to be careful to make sure your scale on your x-axis and your y-axis is appropriate, so you have to mess around just like I did. But I did eventually, and I got this nice graph that I screenshotted and put in here. So let's just look at this. So this is weeks on our x-axis, and this is money saved on our y-axis. And question A here says, plot the point on the graph that represents the amount after 3 weeks. Write the coordinates next to the point. All right, so here's 3 weeks. We follow it up to the graph. All right, so there it is. And it's a little bit hard to see scale over here. But essentially it's going up by 50s, right? So 850, 900, 950, 1000. Okay, so that is your 3 850 amount. So that's 850 there, and there's 3 down here. And all right, we said that, and actually maybe I should have done that in purple to match up with our color up here. But there's that 3 weeks, $850. And then B says plot the point that on the graph that represents the number of weeks to save to 1350. So 1350, if we're looking carefully here, so here's 1300, and that would be 1350. If you follow that over to our line, there's the point right there. Notice that also matches up with 7 weeks right here. So there is 7 weeks and $1,350. All right, so we can see that those combinations work. We know they work because we already found them up here that we solved for each one of them, and that means those combinations of weeks and money saved are going to be on the line. All right, C says find another point on the line and state its coordinates, then state what that point represents for Tori and her savings. All right, let's see if we can find another point that we can see real easily on our line. And I'm going to change colors here, but another point that we can see easily. So I'm seeing a point right here that's pretty easy to spot. Another point right here that's kind of easy to spot, relatively easy. So, you know, if you wanted to go with this one, that would be 1/600. Here we go. And this one is a little bit harder, but if you notice that your scale's by 50 and that's going, so that would be 1100 there and 5 here, so that'd be 1100. So there's a couple options for you. And so let's go with like the 1100. So 1100 means that after 5 weeks, because weeks are on the x-axis, Tori will have saved, but I can spell here, saved $1,100. So that would be the meaning of that. So that combination would work in our equation, and that would be the meaning. All right.